From the middle of my pivot to the middle of yours, welcome. I want to unpack pivot today. I want to unpack that word. I found the most beautiful blog from a lady I've never met just by Googling. And I'm going to use that to unpack this word for you today. And I want to warmly invite you to a new webinar that I have going for existing coaches and facilitators, existing online entrepreneurs. So if that's not you, just ignore this. crystaljoycrawford.com/this is me now, where we are going to workshop what I've developed as a method to get more clear about who you are now, who you're talking to now, how you want to talk to them about what it is you are choosing now. We are going to be new me, new leads, all of us that are starting over. And I'm going to use starting over and pivot and transition very loosely all together. So please forgive me as I get it wrong. But I've talked to a lot of people lately that would describe themselves in the middle of a hard pivot. Pivot, when you Google it, is typically referred to, used in career change context where you are forced into a pivot but it's typically used in conjunction with your work. So I think it's appropriate here because a lot of us who are pivoting in our lives and in our bodies and in ourselves, but it's affecting our work. So we're going to use it. But this is also relevant if you are just dissatisfied, if you are sort of generally frustrated with how your life is going. Like, you could apply this in a lot of different ways. And I keep looking over here because I wrote down some of the things that this girl says. Let me pull open that screen and read to you a little bit. This chick, I'm going to see if I can include the link here. Her name is Steph Laffey. I found her just by Googling pivot. And the blog is called 10 Ways to Pivot in Your Life So You Can Really Start Creating It. And how many of you guys have heard me talk about creating your life or heard Access Consciousness talk about creating your life and have no idea what the fuck? Okay. So I think that's part of what I'm doing these days is I'm like unpacking like what creating your life is, what's really required to create your life. What do you need to know? Where do you need to put your attention? What do you need to like go digging for and articulate so that you're creating your life? Anyway, she wrote here, as an online business owner, when I hear the word pivot, my mind instinctually starts to think of the ways in which I could pivot my offers, pivot my content, pivot my niche, which, by the way, we are doing that. crystaljoycrawford.com/this is me now. That's where you get started with this. And she goes, to best suit the needs and wants of my peoples to create the biggest impact in their lives. But in crazy times like these, more than ever, it has become abundantly clear to me that the pivots that are required to live and create the life of my dreams go far beyond the framework of my business. Honestly, when I really think about it, the most powerful pivots I've ever made in my life have been the ones that have taken place in my own heart and in my own mind. The ones that require me to make a decision about how I'm going to show up in my life. So if you're feeling or finding yourself a little stagnant in your business, in your life right now, I feel you, she says, take a step back and decide where it really is that you can pivot your energy and your perspective. Because you are the most important asset and you have the power to create your life one way or the other. You get to decide who you are and where you want to go and then to, show up as her. So what if you started with pivoting the way you view and define success? What do you, and let me just jump in here as me for a second while I'm reading this to you. I realized as I was reading her first question, pivot the way that you view success. What I realized about that for me was that is a lot of what changed for me in this new whatever era. Let's call everything's an era these days. Thank you, Taylor Swift. I realized that I started really grokking, receiving the fact that success had changed for me. The things that made me feel really successful before didn't anymore. And I didn't even have the same level of interest or enthusiasm to go after generating those same things. So those two things were combined. It was like, I can't do what I did before. The same things aren't important to me. I don't view success in the same way anymore. It's changed from success is this, and this to success is something. And so I started looking for it along with joy. Joy used to be these things that I'm doing. Joy is no longer these things. What is joy for me? So I started really getting like I'd sort of like you know how when you go into maintenance with something, it starts to feel kind of every day, right? Like pretty much when we're in maintenance with something, we need to like get creative again because maintenance is not our jam. Those of you guys that are creative know what I'm talking about. So it's like I'd gotten into maintenance with a lot of my business activities, my life activities, and just doing the same thing. Well, at a certain point, you wake up and you're like, is this all there is? Did I shave my legs for this? Like, what is this for me? And what do I need to be looking at that would restore or allow me to rediscover or discover anew what joy is for me, what success is for me, what business is for me, what life is for me, all those things. So that I loved when she said that. Take a step back. What do you truly value? What do you need more of to feel fully jazzed about in your life? Can I give you guys a little confession that today, when I launched this new webinar, this new offering for you to participate in if you choose, I link is here, by the way. I got so happy. I started messaging people and inviting them because I knew exactly who I had created this for. It was very different than what I've done before. I've created a lot of very general things where you guys can choose or not. But this one had a particular kind of person in mind. And I'm very determined to see this through, even if it's one person that chooses it, because I am. So but I got really excited. I was like messaging people about it and like reaching out to people, and I was creating content around. It was the first time in a really long time where I felt excited and proud about what I was doing. I can't explain that to you. I don't know why this is the thing that I feel excited and proud about, but I do know that I've been following something and I've been choosing it and I've been seeing it through. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, for the first time, I had a dance party in the kitchen eating spaghetti in a really long time. I have not dance partied in a while. And so it was an indicator to me that I'm going in the right direction for me. That should be an access class, right direction for you. What do you need more of to feel fully jazzed about in your life? Like I saw people choosing this and I was like, oh, for the first time, it wasn't just like another thing I was putting out there. It was this thing that I'd put a lot of energy, time, care, crafting into. And people were saying yes. And I was like, oh, like I didn't know if anybody would say yes to this. It was just this different experience of me to feel happy, accomplished, fulfilled. So she goes, take a step back. What do you truly value? What do you need more of to feel fully jazzed in your life? Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's more time for yourself. Maybe it's having a porch to have a quiet coffee with yourself. Maybe it's more time with your family. Maybe it's really doing your business different than you've ever done it before. Maybe it's having a family to spend time with. Whatever it is, take a look at your life. Is what you're spending time doing what you really value? What's really important to you? What's really going to like juice you and jazz you? Like, how do you need to pivot in the way that you're looking at success and how you're spending your time? Are you living your life by the terms of someone else's definition of success or your own? So I am rediscovering what success is for me anew. I have a sense, I have a vision, a sense of what I want my life to be like. I have a sense of I have a sense of it. I'm following that sense of it. I'm saying yes to the things that match that sense. And so that's sort of turning out to be me spending time doing the things that are pretty important to me. I would say important to me, that I like, that I think are fun, that I truly value. So I'm discovering my new success. So you don't have to be there, like knowing what success is for you. But what I would say is important is that you are engaged in the discovery of it. So are you engaged in the discovery of what this is for you, what success is for you, what living is for you? Or have you just kind of like set it over there in the dusty corner and continue doing your life because it's easy. It is easy. It is easy to keep doing life the way that you've always done it. It's simpler. And I was reminded of this weekend. So this weekend, Luna came over. Luna is my stepdaughter. We're up in Canada now, so we're back in proximity. So now she gets to come over on the weekends. She's almost 10 and has really changed since we saw her last. She's matured, she's sweeter, she's got more conversational, she can talk. It's cool. And she's in this phase where when she's at our house, at least, she is always on her phone. Now, she's 9.5. I didn't get a phone till I was 23. And so we had a pretty busy weekend. Andres was tired from his first week at a real job. I had a big project that I was working on. She was just hanging out with us, I think, getting a break from the rest of her life. So she was on her phone all the time. I saw her on her phone all the time. And I went into a little bit of conflict because there are, I have big dreams, not just for myself, but for other people. And she's a little people. And I am a big sister at heart. And I have big dreams for her too. And I see lazinesses in my choices around interacting with her, like allowing the being on your phone all the time just because it's fucking easier, right? None of us have to really engage. She's happy. I'm going to put that in air quotes. We're happy. And by the end of the weekend, I was kind of mad at myself. Now, the thing I had to look at was for me to instigate or be a catalyst to the change that I know I am and can be for her. I would have to really be willing to one be the leader, and two, allow for a lot of experimentation, and three, be willing to engage more than I ever have. And I would say those three things are the same for pivoting my business, the same for pivoting my life. Like, if we all just go on autopilot, which we kind of did this weekend, and on one hand, it was nice because there wasn't a lot of expectations and we could all just like, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, we get one day a week with her. And what do we want to create with it? To be honest with you, we've never asked that question. I had, but it was like 20%. And so it went the way that it went because none of us really actively created it. We were just there. And that is what I saw myself doing in my business and in my life. And what happens when you do that is things left to themselves, things have a natural cycle of disintegration. If you plant a seed in the garden and you never engage with it and you never activate its natural abilities and you never play the part that only you can play with, for example, like if you put an unnatural, what am I trying to say here? Let's say you put a sunflower seed in the ground. Let's say you put a seed in the ground. What am I trying to say here? If you plant a garden seed that's like a cucumber that needs a lot of water, if you plant a plant that needs a lot of water in a dry garden bed, and you simply put it in the dirt and you expect it to do seed things without contributing the elements that seed actually needs to flourish, which, by the way, when you have a plant that needs a lot of water and you plant it in a dry bed, that would include having soil that holds a lot of water, and it would include a lot of water. But if you don't contribute a lot of water and you don't do the part that you need to do for that seed to do the thing, the seed is going to naturally disintegrate. It's just not going to have the conditions in which it can thrive, and so it will die. And we are the same. Our business is the same. So left to her own devices, little Luna is going to do the very best she can with the tools she has available. But if no new tools are introduced and no new magic is thrown into her world, she doesn't really have the total possibility that she probably could have if all of us chose to be as magical as we are and engage the way that we can and create with her in the way that we can. I would like to be greater in that area. So that is me living my life by my terms instead of the definition of anyone else's success. If we look at other people around Little Miss Luna, they choose different. But I have a different desire. I have a different dream. I have a different ability. Am I going to use it? Because it's there. And this is the thing that I'm recognizing all over my life of like, I have a different ability. Am I going to use it? Am I going to use it to create? Am I going to use it to have? Am I going to use it to, spread my magic? I need to pivot. I want to pivot the way that I look at success. And so one of the things that's definitely emerging is I am choosing different. I'm choosing different. Instead of being a generalist and just following somebody else's thing, I am choosing to form my own steps forward, kind of always have, but now I'm like leaning into it hardcore. Instead of just taking just the easy way, I'm going, okay, I see all your things, but I want something a little different. And I'm going to get into the studio of life and I'm going to start to form it. Welcome to my sweat. So pivoting the way you look at something, pivoting your point of view is where it all begins. Recognizing that pivoting your point of view is going to change your activities is the second piece of that. Recognizing, okay, so if I really start to look at what this is for me, if whether or not I'm satisfied, whether or not this is everything that I want it to be, whatever it is, I am going to be changing my actions, my willing. This is all these actions and pivoting of point of view is going to change my life. Am I willing to have a different life? And everything that brings up. Access consciousness, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, call, line, shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds. So that. So I want to invite you to one of my first offerings post pivot, which is I really want to work with you guys that are facilitating or coaching or in a business of your own that are really feeling the call, the urge, the surge into a transformation of your messaging, of your market, of your offering in the world to get more clear on it and then to build it out. So you're invited to crystaljoycrawford.com/whatever it says. This is me now. And beyond the webinar, what would it take to really fully engage with yourself? To not just let yourself be on autopilot, just doing all the things because that's what you have enough energy to do, but take a day off or take a morning off and really go start asking yourself some interesting questions. Like, am I spending my time doing what I really value? Am I living my life by the terms of somebody else's definition of success or mine? If I were creating success from my point of view, where would I start with that? What would the elements be? And if it is about my business, how can I pivot my offers? How can I pivot my content? How can I pivot the way I talk about myself to grow, to succeed in a different way, to reach new people, or whatever else it is that you want to do? Share this with a friend who needs it. Like, subscribe, comment, share, leave me 5-star reviews. Let's get this out in the world, and I will see you guys in the next conversation. Bye.